everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. This week I was so excited to share with you my amazing, beautiful race down in Lulworth that I was supposed to be doing with Trail Events Co. and was supposed to be the longest run of my training plan at 48 kilometers or 45-ish. Unfortunately, as you have probably guessed, I'm not there. This week I have been struggling with an injury that's actually been around for 2-ish weeks now, just over 2 weeks, and because of that I took the very painful decision to pull out of this race in order to hopefully heal and recover in time for my 100k in less than 5 weeks time. Obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm pretty devastated by that because I was so excited to be able to give this race a go, with also my strange heart symptoms having died down recently. I was really excited to get out there and build some confidence over some longer trails, since I've not done longer trails since July last year, and I was so excited to do it also because it's my favourite place kind of in the world to run down there. It's just so beautiful, but it was not to be, and that is just part of training, and sometimes these things happen and there really is nothing you can do about them. I don't think I have done anything wrong in training. I have stuck to my training plan as much as possible. I've taken extra rest where I've needed it, and these things happen. So unfortunately I've had to shift focus a little bit while my ankle heals up. I'm still not 100% sure what the injury is. It might be peroneal tendinopathy, but I've had that before and it feels a little bit different, so who knows. And the reason I didn't mention it before, despite the fact that it's been bad for 2 weeks, is because this is such a stupid reason, but I don't feel like I can have 2 different issues at once. And having mentioned to you guys, you know, I was having heart palpitations, all that kind of stuff, and that was what was my issue and I was getting that sorted, I didn't then feel like I could say, oh, and also I've got this like ankle niggle that's been a little bit painful over the last couple of weeks and let's see how it goes. I don't feel like I can have 2 issues at once, and psychologically and mentally speaking, like I feel like I need to just focus on one thing at once, but I feel actually that's not really how the body works, and you can very well have 2 issues at once, especially if you're ultramarathon training. All the issues will find you, and that is unfortunately what has happened to me. I'm slightly in denial about the whole thing, but this last week I have done literally, last week I did 11 kilometers and that was all on Tuesday, and then I was in quite a lot of pain and so I stopped running. Previously, when I had this injury, it would be there quite bad for the first kilometre or mile of the run and then steadily sort of warm up into the run and go away, or at least get to the point where it was manageable, and then I'd get to the end of the run, it would kind of be fine for a bit, and then at the beginning of the next run it would be even worse. But because it was going away during the run, I didn't feel like I had to actually slow down or stop my training, because I was like, as soon as I get going it's fine, so I can just get going and it will go away. Unfortunately, it steadily got worse and worse and worse, to the point that on Tuesday's run, oh my god, hey, hi baby, hello, oh I got a dog, Tia, this is very distracting. Okay baby, you need to not be here. What is it? What is it? Ah! Okay, thank you, okay, off you go. Okay, sorry. Are we good? Are you gonna go up there? Okay, fine. Until on Tuesday's run, I set off, was very painful, nearly pulled out of the run, as I had for the last few runs preceding that one. Did my interval training session, which actually went really well. All of my intervals were under 4 minutes per kilometre, which, considering I think it was like 6 by 800 meters. I was very pleased with that. And then I came back down the hill from wherever I train, and that whole run back was so painful, and having done so much warming up and session and blah blah blah, I did not expect it to continue to be painful for the cool down as well. And so at that point I thought, well, let's message my physio, and my physio said, okay, you need to like take a break, figure out what's going on before getting started again. So I did, and I still haven't figured out what's going on, but I have taken a break. And last week I got in 3 gym sessions. I got in 3 20-minute spins because the bike is my enemy and I absolutely hate it. But because of that, I wanted to shift focus for this week's vlog and share with you what I do in the gym, which you guys have requested so many times. I know probably lots of you don't go to the gym, but it is so important. And for exactly this reason as well, I do genuinely feel like I hadn't got injured up to this point because of my gym training. And if I had done a little bit more, maybe I wouldn't be injured now. I mean, who knows? But I still haven't really figured this whole thing out. There is so much evidence to show that going to the gym improves your connective tissues, it improves the strength of your muscles, it improves your bone density. All of those things are protective against injuries. It also increases your power output and also your kick at the end of races, and reduces the degeneration of your muscles during long ultras. And if you've ever struggled walking after an ultra, that's due to that degeneration. And if you can go to the gym and build up your strength a little bit more, then that happens less. So it's well worth doing, and I go in my off season, I go as much as possible, which is kind of up to 3 times a week. And when I am training really hard, I tend to only go once per week, just because of the balance between running and gymming is, as you guys probably know, quite difficult. But I'm gonna take you to the gym this morning when I'm going and share with you what it is that I usually do. I am gonna try and run to the gym today, but it's only 1.5 kilometers away, so hopefully will not be too much of a problem for me. But if it is, I haven't been able to run up to this point. If it is a problem, I'll just walk, which will be fine. God, it's very bright in here. It's just started to rain outside, but it's also very sunny. Anyway, I feel like this is not ideal filming conditions, so on that note, let me take you to the gym. I'm out and running. It's quite fun, because I haven't been able to do this pain-free in just over 2 weeks. So yeah, this is good. This is only 1.5k-ish to the gym, so I'm just avoiding the hill. I can definitely feel a bit of niggly stuff, but it's nowhere near as bad. Last time I did this route, I had to stop around here and have a proper stretch because it was so painful. So this is definitely improving on that, but I have a feeling I'm not getting back to my usual mileage anytime soon. But yeah, last time I had to stop and walk to the gym, so yeah, this is an improvement, which is good. But I'm not going to push it today because no point, don't want to get back to square one. So I usually run to the gym. I'm here with Rhian, who's also running to the gym. And it means that when I actually get to the gym, I'm already warm, so I can, well, I say warm, it is so cold today, but warmer, so that I can get straight into whatever exercises I'm doing and not spend ages dilly-dallying and trying to warm up while I'm there. And that's definitely helped me kind of not waste as much time and just go straight into it when I get to the gym. Arrived at the gym. I'm not going to speak to the camera while I'm in there because I don't want to interrupt anyone else's training sessions, but I'm just going to stick the camera down and film what I do, and then I'm going to do writing over the top as to why I do that kind of stuff, and hopefully that will help you guys if you are lacking inspiration of what to do at the gym, because I don't know about you, but when I first came back to the gym, like after COVID, I was really intimidated, which is crazy because I've been going to the gym for like a really long time now, but I was kind of intimidated because I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. So hopefully this will help you guys. I tend to start my sessions with trap bar deadlifts. That's when my legs are feeling the strongest and the least fatigued, so it tends to work really well. Trap bar deadlifting is great because it puts less strain on your back than conventional deadlifts, and it's also harder to do damage with poor form than conventional deadlifts. Also, the reason that it's loved by so many runners is that it puts your hamstrings out for less time than conventional deadlifts,
and that means that you can get back to running sooner with less DOMs. I always start each exercise with unweighted versions, and then I move on to weighted versions and build up until I'm doing the maximum weight that I want to do, and I tend to do around 3 to 4 sets of whatever the weight is that I'm aiming for. In this case, 60 to 80 kilos will tend to do on deadlifts, but if you want to make them harder, you can either add more weight or you can drop to the lower handles just by flipping the trap bar over, but I tend to do it this way because my hamstrings scream at me otherwise. In terms of the number of reps, this is kind of up to you. I've done a little bit of research on it, and my previous coach, Holly Rush, and her husband, Pete Stables, recommended doing around 5 to 6 reps on each of these exercises, and that is sort of the best that you can do for if you're doing lots of running as well. You don't want to be doing really high reps because it will strain your muscles to the point that you might not be able to run the next day. Next up, we have single leg heel raises. These are great for strengthening your calf muscles and the tendons needed for balance when running. These were recommended to me when I was working with Aidan from the Irish Physio as part of a rehab program when I was last injured last year. And the great thing about them is that they basically make you a more efficient runner because your calves are massively used when you're running. I do this on a raised block to get a better range of motion, and I do around 6 on each side and increase the weight each time. So the goal was to get 50% of my body weight on the bar. Now I'm up to around 75%, which is so exciting. For reference, when I first started doing these, I couldn't even lift 30% of my body weight on each individual leg. So I have really improved, and now I do it as prehab rather than rehab to avoid getting injured in the future. And I do understand the irony of telling you all this as I'm injured, but hopefully it has meant that I am stronger, and when I get back to things, I will be much stronger for it. This one's about time under tension, so don't rush it, just get a full range of motion and lift what you can. For this one, I do 4 sets of 6 reps on each leg. So after that, I tend to do weighted step-ups with a barbell. Someone had actually stolen the one that I usually use, which is 25 kilos. So I tried it here with 30 kilos, and actually it wasn't that hard. I feel like sometimes I don't push myself because I know that I'm going to push myself in running, so I kind of take it a little bit easy in the gym. But here, this one was actually okay, so I think this is now my new weight. Weighted step-ups are mechanically similar to going uphill, and it uses your core and your leg muscles as well as your balancing muscles, so it's really great for replicating going uphill and strengthening yourself at that. If you control your descent and avoid pushing through your trailing leg, so your weight is going through the leg you're working, then you will do a much better job here. If you've never done these before, just try them without a barbell or do them onto a lower step, and you can work your way up to doing it with weights. You can either use dumbbells, barbell, whatever's easiest for you. I find that a barbell makes me work harder in terms of balancing, so I like to do that. It also works my upper body a little bit as well. Again, these were recommended to me by Aidan from the Irish Physio, and I actually think they are a great exercise if you're a trail runner or even any sort of runner, and I see lots of pro runners doing this, so although it looks a bit strange in the gym, it definitely works. The next exercise is one of my favourites, and again, this is one that I worked on with Aidan from the Irish Physio. Basically, what it is supposed to do is to build explosive power so that when you hit the ground when you're running, your muscles and tendons can basically spring off so that you're using less muscular power and more elastic energy. Or at least that's what I understand from my physio. I had to build up to this one slowly with lots of help from Aidan because it is a lot of impact on your tendons and your ligaments and your joints, but effectively what you do is you balance on one leg on a raised block, then you jump off with both legs and you spring up onto a box. This box used to be lower, and the raised block that I used to stand on was lower, and we've kind of built up and up and up as I've got stronger and more stable on my feet. When you're done with each rep, avoid jumping off the box if you can because it's unnecessary pressure on your legs. So I tend to do 5 reps on each side times 3, and that is me done for that exercise. Done a surprising amount of running in this session because my GoPro was dying because of the cold outside, which the batteries just hate, and so I arrived and it died straight away, so that was great. So I've been like running up and down to charge it downstairs and then exercise upstairs and then try and film and then go and chuck it downstairs again. So it's a bit more cardio based than I was hoping for. It's kept my heart rate up for sure. Session going well so far. I've just got walking lunges, weighted walking lunges to go. It's busy today in the gym, and as per usual, someone has taken all of the 7.5 kilo weights, so I'm going for 10 kilos, and we'll see how that goes. Right, there is no exercise more specific to running that you can do in the gym than a walking lunge. I hate them, but they are so good, especially if you're running a lot of hills. Walking lunges not only build quad strength, but they also build balance and coordination, which is all super important if you're running hills and trails and everything else. I actually first started doing these when I was recovering from IT band syndrome all those years ago, and they were recommended by my physio, and I haven't really stopped doing them since because they work. This is towards the end of my session, so my legs are completely destroyed here, which is why my form is a little bit off, but I try to do 3 sets of 10 reps on each side, so that's sort of 20 steps back and forth times 3. Last but not least in today's gym session was single leg press, and single leg stuff is kind of relatively new to me, but what I've realized is that obviously I have a dominant leg, and that means that I'm using that leg more, and that leg gets stronger and the other leg gets weaker. So I've been doing a lot more single leg stuff so that I am balanced and equal on both sides. Here I did 3 sets of 5 reps on each side, and that was me done. So, gym done. Got like 4 loaves of bread. So now doing a semi-weighted walk back. My quads are so dead. I'm gonna go up this giant hill. Steeper than it looks, by the way. Yeah, my quads are absolutely destroyed. So finished the session, I didn't film very much of it, but with single leg press, which is always a killer. Annoyingly, I feel like leg press machines are not made for women. I am too small to go in that thing, so the range of motion isn't as good as it could be, but we did it anyway. Hey puppy! Hiya. Yeah. And now I am dead. Quite happy I'm not running back, to be honest. The blossom is finally coming out on the trees. Look! It's so pretty. Oh, spring is on its way, if not here yet. It's absolutely freezing today, so not going to jump the gun. We've been doing lots of gardening recently, and I reckon the plants that have gone in may resent us putting them in so early, but the garden looks really nice. I think this summer I'll do a little garden tour. Because I think I showed you guys when we were building the garden back when I was training for my 5k time trial, but never actually showed you the finished garden and what it looks like now. So yeah, I'll have to update you on that.
Okay, I'm back from the gym. I think it was a successful session because I can barely walk up and down my stairs. I've already tucked into lunch because that is kind of, food is sort of a priority for me after the gym and after any run, and pretty much always. And I'm also gonna have a protein shake. I am very aware of recovery at the moment because I feel like overtraining is less a thing than under recovering. Anything that I can do to help me like hurt less is always gonna be a good thing. So I'm gonna show you what I put in a normal recovery shake. It is not complicated at all. You know, I think I probably got enough protein at lunch, but if I can get some extra, it doesn't really matter if it's too much because I'll just wee it out. More in this case is probably good just because I really want to make sure that I have enough. But I think in general, we probably get enough protein day to day, but enough talking. Let me show you what I put in my shakes. All right, so first off, I usually stick in some oat milk. If I'm feeling cheap, I will stick in water, but today we're feeling bougie. So, oat milk it is. And then I have a bunch of, oh, dog and frame. Tia, not for you. No, go away. I have a bunch of different proteins, but this one, oh my god, Tia's obsessed, is the whole caramel biscuit one from Vivo Protein, who I used to be an ambassador for. I'm not anymore, but I still take their stuff because I love it. It's got multi-nutrients in it as well, and it also has omega-3, 6 and 9 in it. So yeah, I take it partly because it's protein, but also partly because it's got a lot of other good stuff in as well. They've got like a normal protein, but this one has a bit more stuff, which I think is no bad thing. Sometimes I think maybe I could just always do with more calories. And this is definitely more calories. And then I am taking creatine. There you go. So I've been taking creatine for a while now. That is because it's got some really great evidence to show that it helps high intensity training, weightlifting, that sort of stuff. It basically pumps your muscles with water and allows you to have a great output when you're training, and that means that you can lift more, which is good. And also I think there is some evidence to show that it helps running, but I will talk to you about that in a second. Right, I actually wrote an entire article on why creatine is beneficial for runners. I did some research, and basically there's loads of research for it in like the weightlifting world and not loads of research for it in the running world. But there's been bits and bobs. So essentially creatine is produced naturally by the body. It's also found in foods like meat and fish, dairy, that sort of stuff. Not very many vegan things. And so taking it, supplementing with it, can be a good idea if you feel like you might be lacking, or if you're doing loads of explosive movements like at the gym. And it creates, or it releases energy via something called the phosphagen pathway, which is, like I said, really explosive movements, and it's the most short-lived of energy, so it's basically not that beneficial in that sense for long distance endurance running. But if you're doing things like interval sessions, it could be useful for things like that. And if you can push more in your interval sessions, then it can make you a better runner overall. So the link is slightly tenuous, but I have found it has helped my lifting, and if I can get better at lifting, then I can get better at running. Again, slightly tenuous connections, but the evidence is there to show that it might help, and again, at this stage, I'm sort of willing to do anything that doesn't harm me to get slightly better to reduce my risk of injury overall as well. So although there's actually been not very much evidence or not many studies done into creatine for runners, there was a really great study in 2018 about creatine for cyclists, and as many of you guys probably know, and a lot of women may be afraid of it for this reason, it causes you to store water in your muscles, and because of that you kind of gain weight, water weight. But it showed that the cyclists who had taken creatine in an endurance cycling event were better able to sprint in the last 4 kilometers of that event than people who hadn't taken creatine, despite the increase in weight. And we know that for cycling, weight is quite like a hot topic. You know, people want to be as lean as possible because any extra weight that you're carrying in that sport is extra weight you have to shift up hills. But if that weight is power, basically, if it's muscle or if it's allowing your muscles to exert more power, then the benefits of that outweigh any negative sides. And you know me, like, I'm not exactly fussed about losing weight or anything like that, but if anyone was worried about it for that particular reason, don't worry about it, it's water. And also it assists your muscles in storing carbohydrates, so it basically helps with carb loading. So if you do take creatine regularly, your muscles can store more carbs, which means you have better glycogen stores in your muscles, which again, for long distance endurance running is super important because it means you're less likely to bonk at some point in the race. As someone who's experienced that, I think that's very important. I did not take creatine last year, and I'm hoping that for really long distance stuff this year, it might help me kind of get a little bit more glycogen stores in my muscles so that when I do completely deplete them at the end of a long race, I will be able to basically go a little bit further than I would have been able to without the creatine. And aside from the performance benefits, there's a little bit of evidence as well, actually some quite good evidence to suggest that it reduces muscle damage when you're exercising. And again, like I say, overtraining is less of an issue than under recovering, and if you can improve your recovery, then you can train more without having the negative side effects of overtraining. And that was from a 2004 study, and it looked at marathon runners, and let me just read you this 2004 study looking specifically at marathon runners reported that markers of muscle soreness and inflammation were lessened after a 30-kilometer run in participants who supplemented with creatine than those who didn't. Several other studies corroborate these findings across multiple sports, suggesting that the advantages to supplementation don't just stop with the sprint finish. Some even go a step further, suggesting that creatine may reduce muscle atrophy during injury, that's me, promote recovery during rehabilitation, although not all studies agree on the extent that supplementation helps at this stage. Since the speed at which we recover is key to how much training intensity our bodies can withstand, faster recovery surely means better training, which in turn means faster times. So far, so good. This is all an article I wrote, by the way, but not all the information has stayed up here. Basically, if you have kidney disease, visit your doctor before starting to supplement creatine, because it does impact on your kidneys if you have issues, pre-existing conditions. But otherwise, it's probably quite healthy, and especially if you're veggie or vegan and don't have any creatine naturally occurring in your diet, then it's probably safe to add to your diet 3 to 5 grams a day, I think it is kind of the recommended dose, but double check that. And I have found has helped me this much, which is a tiny amount, but it's all something. So yeah, I'm gonna down this now and then go back to work upstairs. Right, so that is it for this week's vlog. I'm afraid it didn't have nearly as much running in as I was hoping. I was gonna try and run back from the gym, but not only were my legs dead, but we also had to pick up those 4 loaves of bread, so no running on the way back. But on the plus side, the run on the way there was not painful. I could feel the niggle, but it wasn't painful. And that is the best that it's been in like nearly, 2.5 weeks. So that is good news. And hopefully I'll be able to build back my mileage, because it is really not very long until the race. With hills aggravating the injury, I do want to make sure it's pretty good before going into the Lakes Traverse, because if the Lakes is known for one thing, it is ironically not lakes, it is hills. It's gonna be pretty difficult. But fingers crossed, it is on the mend, and fingers crossed I'll be able to be back running soon, and fingers crossed I'll be able to share it all with you guys on YouTube, because I miss my long runs with you guys, and I know a lot of you message asking me to do it more frequently, but you know, running is my me time, and the long runs I try and share with you because they're often the most beautiful ones, and the rest of them are pretty boring usually. Not something that you probably want to see on here every day. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was interesting and insightful and something a little bit different to what I usually do. I do get asked to share this all the time in my Instagram DMs. People want to know about what I do at the gym, so hopefully this helps. Obviously, I am no personal trainer, I'm not a running coach. All this information has come to me via previous personal trainers, my old running coach Holly Rush and her husband Pete Stables. Technically she's Holly Stables now. And they have a really great concurrent running and strength program, which I used to follow. I followed for my 5K time trial, my sub 20-minute one, and obviously that worked out really well. So they really know what they're talking about. They are huge advocates for strength training as you do running training as well. And then the rest of it is sort of physio, prehab, rehabs type stuff from the Irish physio, Aidan. He also really knows his stuff, and that's the sort of thing that you need to be doing to kind of bulletproof yourself on the trails. And I do realise the irony of sharing with you my exercises for keeping strong and injury-free as a runner as I'm injured. Trust me, the irony is not lost on me. But still, I hope it was helpful, and I've managed to remain injury-free up to this point, so hopefully I can get back to that state and stay that way for a long time. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I will hopefully be back soon, out on the trails, running along, and I will of course share it with you guys. And I will see you next week. Bye!